soul's finishing off the acupuncture of perpetual voids. I take in outside itself the sacrificial and its binding and unraveling toward the other side along the seclusion inside my pretty little head of a monster. I convulse on ache that pains me among such fragile machines and emptied creatures. And the you I crushed in charm, while for your loathing of my luscious ravishing and all your withering ways, dismissed from ever dragging you into this kingdom of beloved nightmares. To distill the dissonance I plummet throughout each one of the merciless spells and utter distress from you, for you, and passing away unafraid, so salient together we keep in the tremendous pacing of fascinating animosity, especially the absent tears, adorn in exposure as avaricious harm. Obliterated in sentimental devastation where we escalate in maim and remorse. Following the distance you feed unto the cancer as you operate me, you inspire me, and I obtain the filth and I am under too, and move over to you, to let me hate you, to let me love you, and I contaminate you with the ringing in my head. I understand it. I want out too. In the ugliness of wonderful deviation, I rejoice in the rage swelling in my favorite caress. For the pain on you is the pain in me, and for the plague from you is the plague for me, to carefully sedate my brilliant brutality in such a clever disguise, and all the marks of the unfortunate that I declare war upon. And so to drop the torches held from the sky, caving in, withdrawn in shadow and fading me, you roar on by, gathering up the pieces of the universe, unfolding in such wondrous obscurity. I am heartsick from the decay with you, and all that I may fall for you is sleep, held and hung to defend the disgrace you sulk into with sympathy and compassion. I have endless tracts of suffering running down the insides of me. I lie dormant and underneath the miracles of the stampede, trampled, for my isolation is only rendered by you and I. In all the bright darkness I kept surrendering to with the exquisite smothering of sadness by the moans of the machine, until it all winds down and dies, until the sun burns out, until we prance in warmth of tranquility so vulnerable into disaster, and I get a little closer to ruining you, and the many things that cannot mend my openings, and the insides betray my entrails. The morning of you so sweet it breathes me to sleep in melody of screams as we crumble away, boiling down into oblivion. I only hoped I could have made you feel, as special as you made me feel, evasive and torn up to the hatings of the defecate and frail, their place soon to come the parasites hithering over to you, where I am deep and undisturbed. Yet I am inventing things again, with each candle burning down in your most fragile suffering into the satisfied attacking in my aim of the enough. This was meant to be. You are breaking through all of me, leaving the tiny fragments to the blow, whereas the light keeps fading in your massage of forbiddance to reveal the lethal unto me, and everything that is bothering me throughout this tender haunting and back through exhaustion crossing, the grand divine, for the only promise here is the end. Breathing in our secret faith, for we're destiny upon a perfect nightmare that took the me to you. We unleash the magic among treacherous voices in slavery for the machines that devour the creatures, and they won't stop fucking the music in imprisonment. Even still, even you in churning me on in completion, even through and even though the impure oceans are filled with all failing dreams so passionate, bringing me a piece of the impostor and to loosen you so as the sands that sweep across disease, scraping and picking the shell of my melancholia. For we both await the call of the imagined and ripe intervention of illness, all because I worship you. Even the tortures held for the chant as the mechanisms retract their claws, and all the severe and most fatal things shoved into your massacre with starvation that bleeds down heavily, vex my salvation in depravity. To the becoming I am more invincible in all my ways. To the leaving you are less in discovering, but the fester is rising to the uncovered preservation. We are infesting all the quiet before the storm, ablaze in the gnaw of captivity, centering all else of voices of plenty. The victims hath arised in our third eye, satisfied and avoided under violent and creeping loveliness we shrug, shaking the loosened debris from the burdens. They are the morning dew. This mysterious suppression has lacerated me with its spells and the permanent of the noise, my domain where I lavish in myself. Yet you lift me into the marvelous, then I sink in my hole, so astronomical, and again I'm tossed across the universe, through and through your device, buzzing inside the dead of me, with a little chirping of numb, and I had another revelation of you, slipping in the clearing of your abyss, wallowing down and up, always a way to embark amongst the loneliness and all the ways which we discovered together. You stun me in Alsatia crying. I am the trap and the perfect escape for you, deadening all with the lack of your refinement to vanquish, eventually within the emptiness, just alike the creatures, unlike you. As the beholder I have absorbed the downcast of my finality manacled where I'm left to marvel at you because you appeal to me, as if I were frightened, astonishing the many of my Cohen. The taming of yours and mine, you had to drench yourself in the tar pit of greatly magnified nastiness and ravage everything else, and evade within this plummet. I feel the vibration of magic soothing as I come into the very abandonment, for I'm in love with my madness. And I dance in your fortress as if I were cherished in ultimate ugliness, but I do not, nor have ever to shine with such creatures, nor would I want to also among such machines the entities I've built. Fate will see that I'm alone, destined to be exiled in loneliness, yet I am still to remember you, and I drop through the emerging and continue diminishing. I trail away all with you, and maybe we together are alone too, and enough. To exceed ourselves in a life less ordinary, under or above the magic of muse, no matter which way to bleed in all escape or intake, it is the bugs which reach us in the after despondency of our reminding death in vague distinguishedness. All that ever reverberated us through the walls as exiled entities forevermore was close to me in dreaming where I descended in greater asunder. Higher with the vast and you, after all I became endured, just the temperature of lingering, to let reverberate inside of me, each mechanism in bloodletting and the afar of your calling disease. The area undiscovered I isolated in with you, suspended further through the desolation rendered, and all slavery of you I disconnected. And in you to shine so still in me, I measured the ungraceful meaning. For all this fucking surgery performed by this machine of the certain beyond I had started collecting in pieces, and in a place when the sun arose quite void between spirits so restless. And as the fortress fell in, all the apathy vanished, in the carving of our souls, for all the embraced entities cannot fix. Yet the reflection of the rising massacres and falling fascinations only proves that the very incurable diseases and diabolical elegance continues on, with each tick in the machine. Proves it all to me, open and closed all at once. Anyway, in all the sickness I miss you, and I will sway with the noise of you that enters me, to have the most gentle hum, all the way through my hole as I bleed amorously in the cold. It lulls the pain to sleep and softens the blow of calamity. It is my terrible admiration. To know such a veil has this ruin fled from the heart, and it fell apart to complete the rusting among such hurt. Like instruments in tune, we play our tainted melody till our lips are sore, and the confusion is a motionless sea of destruction. I